All right, everyone, we are back. We took a couple week break. We learned, we watched some basketball, but we are back and we're starting hot. We're starting with an NBA power rankings. Top 10 teams in the NBA. Number 10, I'm biased, but I'm putting the Knicks. I'm putting them on the list. I looked through the pool. I think they're number 10. I put them above the Spurs, the Pacers, the Hawks, the Raptors, Celtics. I feel like they play 10 times, Knicks win 6 or 7. I really do. Because I like this Knicks team. Julius Randle playing like a stud. RJ Barrett really, really finding his play. Emmanuel Quickly is working out very well for the teams. Mitchell Robinson's unfortunate, and it's looking like he's going to miss the rest of the season. But I still think this team is going to be okay. It's like it sucks, but I think we're going to be okay. Derrick Rose is finally back from COVID. So I think that the Knicks get number 10. I think that this Knicks team is young. I think they are healthy. I think that they are energized. Well, their play is a little bit too laxed. Like I feel like they have a lot of energy, but they just kind of play and they lackadaisically move the ball, and it just doesn't quite work for me. But so number 9, I'm putting the Trailblazers because they're really good, but the problem is they just are. They're not a very well-rounded team, but I mean Damian Lillard is just too good, and he just is unstoppable, and that alone makes the Trailblazers good. I watch games, and I can't believe that they win sometimes because, I mean, I guess you could say Carmelo too really helps them, but it's like I don't see how this team could win a game without Damian Lillard. I think that he is just the heart and soul of the team, and I think that he I think that's why that they're not like a number 1 team. I think if they have some other guys to support him, kind of like the Nets do with like Harden and Curry and whatever, we'll get to them later. Then they would be a lot better, but they really only have like Lillard and Carmelo, and it shows. But they win games, so I mean, who am I to say? They have a better record than the Knicks. I put them higher. And so at number 8, I'm putting the Denver Nuggets. This is a lot more of a well-balanced team. I wouldn't say there's too many like super standouts. I guess you could say Trae Young. But other than that, I feel like the Nuggets are just a well-rounded team. They play well, pretty good on offense, pretty good on defense. They are pretty good at winning games, seem to be pretty well coached. This is just a pretty well-rounded team, and it just works for them. I don't think this team is going very far. I think they'll definitely make the playoffs, and I think they could even win a playoff series, but I don't think they're going too far because I think if I think they are the definition of a star away. And so at number 7, I'm going to put the Clippers, who are another pretty well-balanced roster, but they are just so inconsistent. Like, recently, they're like 6 or 7 of their last 10. But sometimes they'll just go on like these weird 5-game winning streaks. They're losing to like these teams that they should definitely be beating. They get blown out by the Bucks, weird stuff. And then all of a sudden, they go on a 6-game win streak. So who knows with them? I think if they can get hot at the right time, they could be competitive in the playoffs. But other than that, I just don't really see it happening for this team. I think they're too inconsistent, but they do have some really good players, and so that's why they're at number 7. And they do go on some really good runs, and they have a good roster. I just wish they could be a little bit more consistent because I like this Clippers team too. Now coming in at number 6, we have the Bucks, and so the Bucks are just they're a good team. They're just a little reliant on Giannis. I feel like with Giannis not there, and he's missed the past couple of games, they are really missing him, but I don't feel like they couldn't survive without him, but I feel like they're a little reliant on him. I feel like they would kind of be around like where the Knicks and the Trailblazers are in this list if they didn't have him. Like, I think they'd still be good, but they would not be able to do the same things, and I think that's just something I think about. And obviously Giannis is a great player. You love watching him play, but I think that this team has a lot of potential. They lose some stupid games sometimes. And I think they are a little reliant on him, but it's not a disaster if Giannis isn't there. Like, they could definitely still win some games. And so I have them at number 6. I think that if they could get a little more depth on the rest of the roster, then they could be a really complete team. But at number 5, I have the Los Angeles Lakers, and they're just so hard to place right now because they are just covered with injuries, obviously, because I think that a Lakers team with Anthony Davis and LeBron James can be almost like number 1 or number 2. I don't think they could compete with the Nets, but I think that they could compete with like the Jazz, the 76ers, but we'll get to them later. I think that that they're not very good without LeBron and AD, but that's not really fair because any team's going to be much worse without their two best players. And so they're just so hard to place. I felt like I couldn't just leave them off the list because LeBron and AD happen to be hurt right now, but I couldn't put them at the top because, AD's been out for a while. LeBron seems like he's going to be out another couple weeks. So I just, they're a little bit of a question mark. I think they'll make the playoffs, and if LeBron and AD are back, I think they'll actually be able to make a bit of a run because this team with LeBron and AD are great, but without them are trash. You can't have Kuzma being your number one. But at number 4, I'm putting the Phoenix Suns. The Suns, I would say, are probably if the Nuggets are here, they're here for just the best rosters. I think that the Suns have just the most depth. I think that they're the most complete team. And they're kind of the same where they don't have any superstars, but they have Booker, they have Bridges, they have Paul, who are really effective. But I don't feel like they're very reliant, kind of like the Bucks and the Trailblazers. And so I kind of just feel like that this Sun team is just very complete. I think they're very well coached. I think that they could make a real run, but they're not very flashy. They're not very let's go up and down, let's do some really good passing. But I think that it works really well for them. So they're kind of one where they're almost a little bit boring, but it makes them really good. They're kind of like the Saints in the NFL, where they're a little bit boring, but they're pretty good. But above them, I'm putting the 76ers, who I didn't expect to be as good with Embiid being out. I thought that they were a little bit like the Bucks, where they were pretty reliant on Giannis. But with Embiid being out, they've been able to really hold it down. Simmons has really stepped up to his role, and I think this roster was a little more complete than I think I had realized. But yeah, I have to keep him at number 3. At one point, I probably would have had him a little bit lower because I really thought they were too dependent on him. But I guess I was wrong because they're still just winning games. They could just win these games. But at number 2, I'm putting the Jazz, who the Jazz can be a little inconsistent, just a little bit though, because they started this season obviously on a great run. At some point there, they were like 21 or 22, and now they're a little bit more of like a good team where they win like 7 out of 3, then like 7 and 3 and 9 and 1, rather than 9 and 1. But this team's awesome. I love Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. They just have a really good starting 5, and I just think that this team can do a lot of great things if they. I think they have a ton of potential. I don't think that they always live up to it. I think that sometimes they have just these off games that it's hard to ignore. But they're still number 2, and they are still just a great team. But at number 1, you have to put the Nets. You have to. This is just a super team. You have Harden, you have Irving. At some point, you're gonna have KD. You now have Blake Griffin, who's playing pretty well. I think they signed someone else. They are just signing everyone and their mom, and it just is working. Harden especially. I think Harden is actually my front runner for MVP right now because it is so hard for them to lose. I don't see anyone beating them in a series this year, and I think they're just going to take it. I just see no way that they can lose. Thank you everyone for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.